You got a marriage on the rocks and it's starting to suck. You got some intimacy issues and your sex life's stuck. Put yourself in the hands of Mrs. Jessica Weeks. She's got all the marriage hacks, tips, tricks, and tweaks. She's bringing truth about marriage, laying myths to rest. Taking on the hard topics no one else will address. Put your earbuds in and listen up real close. Be here every single week and make sure you take notes. For some expert advice way beyond common sense. Take your everyday marriage to a marriage of confidence.
This is the Confident Marriage Podcast, and I'm your host, Jessica.
And I'm your host, Sean.
The no fluff, straightforward, real talk, real world experience, and practical solutions for your marriage. We talk about what no one else will.
Yeah, and we're the podcast that has couples talking in more ways than one. And we're funny. Everything for your family and relationships, from the playroom to the bedroom. Thank you so much for joining us.
Don't forget to subscribe and rate us. We love hearing from you guys. Even if you just email us a little comment, let us know if there's any topics you'd like us to cover that we haven't yet. We always love hearing your guys' suggestions.
Or any questions you had on previous topics, because you never know, we might just go back on one of our future episodes and answer that question on air. Mm-hmm. Don't forget to visit our website, www.theconfidentmarriage.com. There you can sign up to our newsletter where you get exclusive content, news, weekly columns, and early access to our latest episode. Also, don't forget to check out our resources page there. We've added a couple of really cool resources, so check it out.
Yes, and check out our social media, too. We're on Facebook at Confident Marriage, Twitter, C Marriage Show, and Instagram at Confident Marriage, where we have been the most proactive lately. We've, been having fun on Instagram. What?
Yeah, live videos and everything. We definitely interact a lot on there. We love Instagram, but we're on the other platforms as well, including Pinterest.
Yes,
So
thank you.
Pin us, or whatever you do on Pinterest.
Yeah. Well, in our live videos, I mean, we're getting better at them. We're definitely, not the best, but we're learning and we're having fun with it. And what my favorite part is when people start interacting with us, it kind of calms my nerves because I don't feel like I'm just being watched. I feel like, I don't know, I just love talking with you guys.
Part of the group. Mm-hmm. So interact with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So this week we have a really, really fun topic. Mm-hmm. So I know people are going to be like, Jess, what does this have to do with marriage? But bear with me because it does.
I think it has a lot to do with marriage.
Yes. So I was able to get the CEO of Organized 365 to do an interview with me. So she's our guest on the show today.
I'm excited.
I'm so excited,
because
you guys.
I'm not the most organized person.
So let me just get technical a little bit for a minute. Get into some psychology studies here. So the way that organization really plays in our life and our marriage is pretty broad. So they have found that when we're disorganized and we've got a lot of clutter, that it keeps us from being able to really focus on things. And we are also more prone to engage in unhealthy behaviors because our space around us is just kind of cluttered and it makes us feel a little uneasy and cluttered. And they've actually done studies that it impacts your psyche.
Well, and I would say not even just the space around you with physical clutter, but how cluttered is your head?
Right. Well, we don't go into that, but that's an excellent point.
Well, I think you can take everything they say about uncluttering and organizing your life and put that into practice with your thoughts and how you keep things straight in your head, too.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind during the interview.
Yeah. And so I know that we've all experienced those times. I mean, maybe not so much now during COVID, but, as a family when, I've got this meeting and Sean's got that meeting and then the kids got to go here and the kids got to go there. And, oh, did you pay that bill today? And, oh, when was that bill due? And it just it gets a little flustered and overwhelming and it creates so much negativity. Tension between you and your husband and your kids and getting frustrated with one another. And so that's another good way that organization can really help your marriage go a lot smoother. And you can carve out time for physical and emotional connection because you guys know what your calendars are like.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know clutter in the sense of having all these bills to pay. I know I freak out if I don't have everything written down of like what needs to be paid when, and then everything's all up in the air, and then I start to feel scattered, and then I start to do scattered things, and then my whole life starts unraveling in front of me, and I'm just a mess.
Mm-hmm. You know, I am a pretty organized and clutter-free person, and
That's to say the least.
I got a lot of useful tips from her. So just the meet and greet conversation we had was fabulous. So, and I love her website. So she's been on all of the major like home shows. She's done dozens of them, like the HGTV and all those home improvement shows. Like
she knows her stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, she's big time. So I feel special. I got to get a celebrity on.
You are special, honey.
What are you trying to say, Annie?
That you're special, like amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And I mean that.
Oh, you are too.
Thank you. Not really.
Oh my gosh. None of that self-doubt. Negative thoughts out of the head.
I'm obsessively thinking about it. I should have listened to last week's podcast.
That was actually really good. Kudos to you.
So let's get back to organization, because the show's getting disorganized right now.
You couldn't see me, but I was giving them little palm claps. So yes, organization is super important in your life and your marriage.
Is she an organization guru?
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to know a guru.
A guru?
A
well,
guru.
Now you do. Well, you're going to meet her.
Cool.
Yeah. She's definitely that. What did I call her? I even asked her during our meet and greet. I said, so can I call you the organization queen? She's like, absolutely. So
just make sure she gives you credit for it if she starts calling herself that.
I know, right?
Now, I know this isn't like the norm for our show, because we're usually talking about really heavy topics and infidelity and betrayal trauma and obsessive thinking, but every now and then there's something outside of the stereotypical marriage thing that can really improve your life and your marriage and relationship. So bear with us and check out this interview, because it is really going to help you in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt. So I'm really excited. Let's get started. Just be aware the sound is going to change once I bring her on, because we're doing it through Zoom. So it's not going to sound as wonderful, but you'll still be able to hear her. So let's get started. Hello, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely. We're super excited to have you. So tell us a little bit about what Organized 365 is.
So Organized 365 started, really, I've always been an organized person. And the year I was getting ready to turn 40, I was driving home from my teaching job in December in the dark, in the rain. And I had just been told by my administrator that I was not a good teacher. And I was old enough to know that she was wrong, but it still stung. And the only thing that I was successful at in that year was being a teacher. And I was just told that I was not successful at that either. My kids were a mess. My house was a mess. My marriage was a mess. Like everything in my life was a mess. And on the way home that night, I decided I was going to quit my teaching job. And I was going to invest my time back in my family and in my house, because at the end of the day, if I didn't have a job and we didn't make more money, we could always get more credit, or I don't know, move in with somebody. But if I spent my whole life trying to succeed in a job and I ended up not being the wife and mother that I wanted to be, then no one could do that for me. Like no one could be the mom to Joey and Abby, and nobody could be the wife to my husband, Greg. And so I decided to quit my job and come home, and the first thing I needed to do was get this house organized, because I had been on a 7-year slippery slope slide into the biggest ditch I've ever been in my life. Everything was going wrong in 2012, and I knew I had to start my own business. I am a entrepreneur on both sides of my family. I'm a 4th generation female college graduate and entrepreneur. All of the women above me graduated from college and own their own businesses, all the way back to the 20s. I thought, this is ridiculous, Lisa, just start your own business. So I started Organized 365, the blog, because I love organizing, and I could talk about organizing for the rest of my life. No idea how I would make money, no idea what I would talk about. I just got started, and that's really where Organized 365 started from.
That is an amazing story. I think a lot of us can really relate to that. So tell me a little bit about the complaints, the the concerns that you hear from people all the time in families when it comes to organization?
Yeah, so the first 3 years that I did Organized 365, I had a blog, and I started in-home professionally organizing for people. By April, someone said, "You're a professional organizer." I was like, "Oh yeah, people do pay me to organize their house." I didn't know the professional organization was a thing. So for the next 3 years, I did the service work of growing a in-home professional organization business in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I worked with 90% women and a few men, and I found that there were a lot more commonalities of what was bothering people about their home than there were differences. And the commonalities were that your house changes as you go through different phases and stages of life. So your audience mostly has children at home. That is the phase called accumulation, where you are accumulating houses and spouses and wives, children, and all of these things. And every person you add to your house adds all the kind of stuff that goes with that person, and then they get to a new developmental stage, and then you have a new passion, and so there's just more and more and more that keeps coming into your house, which is why sometimes you'll just say, "We're going to declutter it all. We're going to go down to 5 toys each for the kids." And women feel so great when they just declutter it out of their lives because there's so much that has come in that hasn't been decluttered out. Then you hit the stage I was entering as I started Organized 365, which I call survival. And it's your 40s and early 50s. And this is when your kids get older and they are in middle school, high school, college, if you have children. But it also happens if you never had children, ironically, in your 40s. And this is when you naturally want to declutter, but you don't declutter because you're overwhelmed about the amount of stuff that's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
You want to declutter because you'd rather have quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start finding value in what you have and having a more peaceful, serene surrounding when you get home. And you're no longer into just getting everything you can get from Target because now you have your own place. And then the last phase is downsizing and legacy. And this is usually starts in the end of 50s, early 60s. At this point, you've lost someone close to you that you've loved, and you've watched their estate have to be settled. You've watched them get sick and pass away, and someone has had to clear out the house of all of their physical belongings. And you start to realize that it's all just stuff, and it's all just going to go away. And now the things that you really value are the memories, the handwritten notes, the photos, the videotapes from years and years ago, and you'll transcribe those. And you're not home very much because you're out making memories. Like, you're traveling, you're visiting, you're volunteering, you're starting your own businesses, like you're doing your second act. And as I identified those 3 different stages, I realized that the reason that homes are not organized is because you get organized in one of those 4 stages and you think that that's what organization is. And you don't realize that even if you live in your same house the entire time, you need different organization for different stages of life. So the first place to start is to recognize, what phase of life are you in? They all do decluttering, but you're decluttering different things for a different reason. You're organizing in different ways because of how you use your house and how you live your life as you progress through life.
That is so very true. I know firsthand, just going through my kids' room can be overwhelming. And with holidays just ending, it's a disaster in there. And so that would be the stage that we would be in, is going through those things and those toys and all those belongings that my kids have and that we have. I couldn't even imagine stepping into my son's room right now and going through everything he doesn't play with.
You are really straddling both the accumulation and the survival stages, though, because your son is 5 and your daughter is 15. Mm-hmm. And so the survival stage is marked by being in your car all the time. Now, I know we're in the pandemic, so we're not traveling as much as we usually do. But middle school, high school, college-age kids, before they get their driver's license, I mean, you're scared to death because they're going to drive. Mm-hmm. And then they get their driver's license, and you're like, hallelujah, I have my life back, because you're in the car all the time, taking them where they need to go. And they're developing their own ideas and what they want in the future and their own likes. And they aren't decluttering very much. Like, your teenager will not declutter very many things because they've already decluttered the things of childhood, and the things that they're accumulating now in their teens and in their college years are the things that they like, and they don't want to declutter those things. So you get this tension of, you want to get that rush from the decluttering their bedroom that you used to get, and they want to hold on to it because they're amassing an accumulation to move out eventually and of the things that they love.
That is very true. When I ask my daughter, go through the clothes that don't fit anymore, get rid of the things that you don't use anymore, your room is a disaster and you can't find anything. She's like, but Mom, I need all of this.
Yep.
So we can totally relate. So I know it's not typical, but how does fitting more organization into your life help with your marriage?
It saves your marriage. So I do an annual conference, like a personal development conference. It used to be called Rise. Now it's called Embrace. And the very first one I did, I traveled to do it to Dallas. Now I always do it in Cincinnati, where I live. There, at the end of the second day, the women come up. It's all women, and they share, the ahas and the breakthroughs that they've gotten from the event. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, this woman came on stage and she said, I came here to plan my divorce. I was convinced that my marriage was over and that I was ready to move on. And after listening to you talk about your family and your spouse, I am going to go home and I'm going to give it another try. Like, I'm ready to give it another try. Wow. And we are in the process of doing some research studies. There's not good research out there about what actually happens in the home as far as organization, time on task, how long it actually takes to do things. There's just not a lot of research studies that have ever been done, so I'm going to do my own. Mm-hmm. And in doing my own study, we did a literature review to get ready for the study, because it'll also be an academic study. And in that literature review, it was found in multiple studies that men and women look at housework and they look at organization completely differently. And that's what I want my study to prove as well. Men see housework and organization as a nice to have, as an optional activity, and as a hobby. And women see it as work. Like, yeah, it's work, has to get done. It's quantifiable. Like, somebody's got to do it. The grocery shopping, the laundry, the cleaning of the toilets, the maintaining the house, the painting the house, the vacuuming, it has to get done. And men see it as optional. And when I heard that last week, when I got that literature review back, I went, oh, that is it. That is it. Because for the last 9 years of growing this business, women will get transformational change through our products and in the past through my services. But when they are married, as I am, I'm Gen X, and they ask their spouse or they converse with their spouse about the cost of hiring a professional organizer, buying a course, buying a product, the conversation is always, can't you just do it with what we already have? Or if that's what you want to do with your hobby and your free time. And so it's the money comes out of the female head of household's hobby budget.
Right.
Or, it doesn't come out of the family budget. Mm-hmm. And it's seen as something that, well, I guess you need this in order to do your job because you weren't born just being able to do it. You should come out of the womb being able to organize your house. And if you weren't an organized child and nobody taught you the skills of organizing, especially as there are different phases of life that you go through, why? Mm-hmm. Why would you not be taught how to organize? There are some things that come naturally to everyone, and other things that people have to learn. And this is a skill that can be taught, and that's how I've grown my business. Once I realized it was a teachable skill, I'm an educator. I created a course, and I can teach you, and I teach you how to get organized. And the benefits of being organized are so amazing. But I realized that the root cause and the root problem is that it is seen as a luxury, as an optional, as a hobby, as something that if you would just apply yourself, you could do it.
That makes a really, really good point. And I mean, even if you had organization skills growing up, times are different now than they were before. And while we might have been taught how to clean, maybe we weren't taught how to organize, or even that organization was important. And one of the things that I've learned as an adult is when you're disorganized, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, your kids, your life, your finances, you overall just have this sense of flustered feeling.
Yes.
And it always feels like there's something on your plate, or what am I forgetting? And it's been proven, studies have proven that when your home or your office is disorganized or cluttered, you actually are a lot less productive. It increases your chances of being overweight and taking on unhealthy habits. When you have an organized home and office, you're much more productive. You're much more on task. Your brain is clearer. You're much sharper. You even get better sleep. I thought that was amazing.
Yes, and I love that you point out all those things, because what you're going for when you say, I'm going to get organized, is people immediately, like, you're listening to a podcast, so I know that you're thinking in your head, Better Homes and Gardens magazine, Pinterest, the IKEA catalog. Like, that is what you're thinking. I'm going to get organized. My house is going to look like a magazine. No, it's not. It's never, not even once, not even when you're done with putting the little thing, like, the kid will walk right through, knock it over. It'll never happen. So if your goal of getting organized is to look like your house is a hotel, then forget it. But what reality is, when you get organized, and we have thousands of people who have done it, what you get is confidence, what you get is a clear mind, and your life back, and your actual time to go out and do a real hobby, not cleaning and organizing, like read a book, volunteer, start an organization, start running, whatever you want to do. You end up with so much time when you're done organizing, and the mental capacity to enjoy the time that you have.
Yes. I love it. I love it. So I know for me, even I'm overwhelmed at the thought of organization, because there's even parts of my life that need help, even though for the most part, I would consider myself pretty organized and put together. But I know that there was a time I wasn't like that. And just the thought of organization was so overwhelming, much less jumping into it and doing it. So for those who are kind of thinking, yeah, it sounds great, it sounds wonderful, but I don't know where to start. I have so much that it would take me forever to do. What would you say to them?
So I used to say, start in the kitchen and 15 minutes a day organizing. I don't say that anymore. And the reason why, I mean, that is how you get your house organized. But the reason why is if you jump into any program, not mine, anybody's program, to get organized in your house, and you have children, you'll make it a couple of days, maybe even a couple of weeks, but eventually you will stop doing it. And the reason you will stop doing it is exactly this, because it happened to me over and over again. You'll get knee deep in clothing in your closet, and you're organizing your closet, and you'll realize that you forgot your child needs to be somewhere, your child will need to be fed, you'll be asked to produce a piece of paper by your spouse that you can't find, the phone will ring, and you need to go help your mom, or something will happen while you are cleaning that closet, and you will have to drop everything and go back into that role. And then at the end of the day, or at the end of whatever, you'll come back and you'll look at this hot mess of a closet that you have halfway unorganized now as you were trying to organize it, and you'll say, I don't even know why I bother. Why did I think I could take an afternoon and clean out my closet? I mean, clearly I can't get this done. But if you start with the Sunday basket, which is how I teach you to organize your to-do list, your kitchen counter pile, your mail, your bills, all of that. The Sunday basket routine that we do on Sunday for 90 minutes, you can do it any day of the week. You don't have to do it on Sunday. I do it on Sunday. But 90 minutes to 2 hours a week to handle all of the actionable to-dos in your family. Then the same exact scenario of knee-deep in clothes in your closet, and all of a sudden you have to take your child somewhere, you have to produce a piece of paper, you have to do something. You go to the Sunday basket, you grab whatever actionable thing that you need to do that. You go, you do it, you come back, and you get right back in the closet. And you don't feel the guilt of having prioritized yourself, because you knew the stuff and it's in the Sunday basket, or you planned on Sunday and you already knew you'd have to leave midway to do something with your kid and come back and finish this. It's not a surprise. Things stop being surprises. Expenses stop being surprises when you just take some time on Sunday and plan out your week.
I love that. I do something very similar. I might spend my Sundays writing down what my priorities are for the week, and make sure that all my appointments are on my phone with reminders. And yes, I can tell you that that was a life-changing moment for me. So what about the 100-day program? Because I was reading about that and I really, really like it.
So I organized many women's homes here in Cincinnati and a few men. And as I was doing that and teaching the skill of organizing, I always knew I wanted to have an online business. I wanted something that was scalable. I wanted a company that had employees. And I started podcasting 6.5 years ago. And so I was growing a worldwide audience, and I was teaching them the skill of organizing beyond Cincinnati, Ohio. And so I needed to come up with like an online course. So I've had this course for 5 years. And I thought, I need you to give me 90 minutes a day. And everyone said, we have 15 minutes. And I said, all right, give me an hour. And they said, we have 15 minutes. I said, great. 30 minutes is all I need a day. And they said, we have 15 minutes. I was like, fine. I'll create a program for you to get your house organized in 15 minutes a day because that's the only time you perceive that you have. But it's going to take 100 days. And I think that that is something to note. You can do something in bigger chunks of time in a shorter amount of time or little bits of time in a longer span of time. Mm-hmm. But you can't get little amounts of time and get done in a month. Like if you think you're organizing your entire house in 15 minutes a day in the month of January, like I have land to sell you because it's not going to happen. And I'm also very realistic. Even when you do my 100-day program, you're not going to get it done in 100 days. I'm a Montessori teacher. I want you to go through it 3 times. You're going to see each space differently when you go through. Mm-hmm. And we have a lifetime program. So you don't have to worry about the unexpected happening, but because it will happen. So 15 minutes a day, how do you get anything organized, right? So teaching you the skill of organizing, I broke the kitchen into 21 15-minute organizing tasks. And then I broke the primary suite into 21 15-minute organizing tasks. So we have 7 15-minute organizing tasks for your closet. Now, will you get it done in an hour and 45 minutes? Probably not. It'll probably take you a little bit longer. Some of those days you're going to give me 30 minutes because that's how long it takes you to organize that portion of your closet. Mm-hmm. For me, on accessories day, I could skip it. I have like 1 necklace, 1 purse, no scarves, 2 belts. Like there's nothing to organize with my accessories. Mm-hmm. But makeup, I'm 49. I have the amount of makeup, like it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It takes me a while to organize the makeup. You better block out an hour. Mm-hmm. So I give you a small, teeny tiny task like a teacher would. And I say, here's what this looks like in my house. Here are some options. Go do your homework. So it's like a 1 to 2 minute video, and then you've got 13 minutes left to organize that space, and then you come back. And every single day is 100% independent of every other day. So you could do day 27, and then day 13, and then day 42 if you're a rebel and you don't want to do it in order. If you do it in order, it does progressively get your home organized faster because kitchen organizing is the easiest and storage room is the hardest. So I have them progressively getting harder as you go through the 100-day. But it's just a curriculum to teach you how to organize your house from top to bottom. And it's designed for any woman, anywhere in the world, in any size dwelling. So I don't focus on spouses and I don't focus on children in the 100-day program because I found that 50% of the people who listen to me either have adult children or they're not married or, they really want to get themselves organized. And I teach you to get yourself organized first and then focus on your family. Now, we do have a couple of couples that are going through it together more and more each year, and that's super fun as well. So it does work for men, but it was originally designed for women.
Yeah, I totally, my husband is your typical blue collar guy. And yet I know that he said the other day, he's like, I need more organization in my life. I mean, he's got tool belts and tools and he can never find anything. And so I know he's very excited to take a look at the programs because you guys can use it too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you about the kids program and then a little bit about the podcast. But tell me a little bit about the kids program for those who have kids at home because that is something that I thought was impossible to do, as I said earlier.
Oh my gosh, I love organizing kids. I love organizing kids. So I found out early on in my organizational career, I had organized children's homes before I even started my professional organization business. I was a professional organizer before I realized it was a thing. And so I would organize kids. As I would organize the homes, the parents would say, can you organize the kids? And I said, yes, I have a rule. There are no parents allowed in the room when I'm organizing the child, and we're allowed to get rid of anything we want to get rid of. We won't throw it away, but if they want it out of their room, it is going to be out of their room. And then if you want to keep it, you have the whole house. Like you can put it in the attic, the basement, storage, wherever you want. But if the child doesn't want it anymore, it's out of their bedroom because that's the only way you're going to get their bedroom organized. And I was extremely successful in organizing children's bedrooms, and they are able to maintain it. So when I was a kid, we grew up kind of in the country. There weren't a lot of kids to play with. So my younger sister and I would play, and I made up this game called Big Friend. And in Big Friend, we pretended that our bedrooms were mini apartments. And we would leave our apartments with fake keys, and we'd go out the front door, and we'd get on our bicycles, and we'd ride on this specific path through our yard, which I labeled as streets, and we would meet in the kitchen, and we'd have a little cafe lunch, and then we'd get on our bikes again, and we'd go over to each other's apartments, and like it was very elaborate. So I have always, like as soon as you're 7 years old, your bedroom is no longer a bedroom; it's a mini apartment. And when you call your child's space a mini apartment, you think about it differently instantly. Like it is their own little space that they have ownership over and responsibility over. And in my kids' cases, we would repaint and redecorate their rooms every 3 years. Paint is not expensive. And I would just keep up with whatever their latest, whatever they liked. And we'd invest like $100 every 3 years in their bedroom and really make it their space and give them that ownership. Now, my primary suite is my condo. But when you think about your house this way, especially during the pandemic, that kids have apartments and you have a condo, part of what we are missing in the pandemic is our own independent space, our like place to go chill. And as your kids get older, they love to chill more and more in their mini apartments. And my kids have TVs and fridges and all kinds of stuff in their apartment because I'm teaching them #adulting. And I started at the age of 12 all the way until they were ready to go to college, teaching them life skills as their bedroom is their apartment. Our daughter is in college now, and even before the pandemic, she lives at home because she has way too many pets to live anywhere else in our basement. And we call it her apartment, and she has a full-size fridge, and she has everything but a washer and dryer down there. And she's very independent in our basement because I truly feel like she is living independently from us.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I love how you paint that picture of their little apartment. I never once thought of it that way, and it really has me jazzed to like go do my kids' rooms and make sure that they love it.
Yes, because here's the thing: when you watch TV shows, especially like from the 70s and 80s and all of those shows, kids have chores in the house. Full disclosure, my children never had chores in the house. They just couldn't handle it. They have IEPs, which is an individualized education plan, and it was just an additional stress that they didn't need. So my children never did chores, but they owned their bedroom. And so if their bedroom was clean, it was because they cleaned it. And I taught them how. It took me a long time. Like one of my kids, it took me 6 months to teach them how to clean and organize their bedroom, but they could learn the skill. And now I have, young adults who know how to clean and organize. They get overwhelmed. There's a specific process we go through. First you get rid of trash, and then food and dishes, and then laundry, and then you start with books, and like you just go through this cadence of organizing your room that creates this story that once you start picking up the trash, the rest of it just kind of falls into order. And my mindset has always been they are little people and they have a little apartment, and if they can maintain their little apartment, that's great. I'm the big person that owns the whole house, and I have to maintain the whole house. When they're older, their little apartment will become a house, and then they will maintain their house. And kind of looking at that in relation to responsibilities. It's a totally different way of running a household, but it's worked for me.
No, I love it. I'm going through my mind of all the things that I can do now with my daughter, especially my 15-year-old. I never thought of it that way. And that's a discussion my husband and I have often is how do we prepare her for adulthood to be successful? Well, believe it or not, one of the ways is teaching them exactly how to adult, how to keep up your space, how to have responsibility, because all those things bleed into the rest of your life. Taking responsibility for your space is huge.
Yes, and so the kids program I have goes from birth to 25 years old, and there are different modules. So there's the learning stage, and then there is a stage for adulting, and I teach budgeting, and I teach car maintenance, and there's information in there on getting your first apartment, like all the way until you're 25. The only things that kick you out of the kids program, like you can live in the kids program, there are only two things. One is you buy a house, and the second one is you have a child. You can get married and still stay in the kids program if you rent, because there isn't any big accumulating thing that you're going to add. And the kids program, you get a $200 discount if you're in the 100-day program, because I know how moms are.
Mm-hmm.
They will prioritize the kids program over the 100-day program for themselves. So I give big bonuses if you prioritize your organization first, because kids learn by watching you more than they learn from the course from me. And you'll get more out of it once you know how to organize your whole house first.
That is true. Children are watching us. Everything that we do, they pick up on. They're little sponges.
Yes, they definitely do.
Let's talk about your podcast a little bit, because I feel like that'd be a really good resource for the listeners, and then also how to find you.
Sure. So the Organized 365 podcast is everywhere. It's everywhere you find podcasts, on all of the players. I think it's even in Audible. I've been podcasting for 6.5 years, and I now have 4 or 5 episodes a week. So basically, if you listen to all of it, it's like listening to a radio show. Each day has a different theme. So Monday is a book review that's also on YouTube. Tuesday is coffee chat, like anything that is current and relevant going on in Organized 365. Like if you follow the podcast, but you're not on social media or not on our newsletter list, you wouldn't know what some things are going on. So we put those in a coffee chat. And then when the coffee goes cold, we just take that podcast episode down. So I've stopped adding outros to my podcast so that there's no outdated information. Mm-hmm. Wednesday is an interview with someone who is getting their home organized. Those are some of the best podcasts when you listen to other people who are getting organized. Mm-hmm. Thursday is a throwback podcast. So that is an organizing podcast from the last 6.5 years that is relevant to this time. And then Friday is a new thought leadership podcast.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And what if we wanted to find you on social media and follow you or visit your webpage or look at the programs that you have? Where do we find all that?
So I'm Organized 365 everywhere. So organized365.com is where you would find the programs. There are some free Facebook groups and a Facebook page that's Organized 365. But me personally, like what this wacky CEO is doing, that's in my Instagram stories. Again, Organized 365.
Awesome. I am so glad that you came on. You were just packed with information and knowledge and just a whole new way to look at the things that we're doing in our life with our children and our marriage and our home. I can't thank you enough for taking this time with us.
Oh my gosh, it's such an honor. Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely. Well, I know that I've kept you longer. I couldn't get enough of it, but I will let you get back to your very busy day. But again, Lisa, I thank you. Please be safe and healthy.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Wow, I loved having her on. That was such good information. And what I really, really liked about it is she is able to break everything down without making it seem so overwhelming, like this huge task we have to take on. We don't have the time to take on.
Right. No, she definitely is a guru.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm. Apply those lessons. Unclutter your life.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you'll feel better and you'll operate better and the vibe will be better.
Yes. And check out my article on organization, because I talk about how we can make organization an emotional intimacy piece in our marriage.
Oh, it sounds very interesting.
It is.
Cool. Now, next week, we'll be going back to some marginally intense marriage stuff while we continue with the second podcast starting month 2 of our 4 cornerstones of a
confident
marriage. And this is going to be intentionality. So we're going to be talking about, and this is a big subject and one of the things that we preach a lot here. So we're going to talk about being intentional in your marriage and being intentional with loving your spouse and being intentional with yourself as well, as far as how you carry yourself and making positive changes. We think you should be intentional in everything you do, and we're going to talk about all that next week. It'll be a big one, so please tune in.
Yeah, even if you're not doing the workshop.
Right, it's not just for the people doing the workshop.
No, it goes hand in hand with the workshop we're doing, but this is for everybody, and I think it's going to be packed with some really good information.
No, it'll be a good one because intentionality is one of the cornerstones of your marriage, along with honesty and expectations and admiration.
Admiration.
Oh, I can't wait to admire you in a month. Well, I'm going to do it before then.
I was going to say, what, in a month?
You got to wait.
Oh, my goodness. Happy Valentine's Day to me.
Ooh, Valentine's Day is coming up. You know what would be good for Valentine's Day is the Intimately Us app that we have up on our resource page.
Yes, definitely. So if you haven't heard us talk about it. It's a really clean, fun way to connect with your spouse, not just emotionally, but physically. It's not raunchy at all. Great conversation starters.
Tasteful. A lot of content.
Tons of content without it being overwhelming. And they add stuff. So,
Highly, highly recommended. And we're actually going to have the creator of Intimately Us on one of our podcasts coming up.
In a couple weeks, right around Valentine's
He's really
Day.
good. He's going to be our go-to intimacy specialist.
Yes, he's absolutely fabulous. And, with Valentine's Day coming, I want to encourage you all to get started on thinking about how you're going to do Valentine's Day for your spouse now. Because when you plan and you prepare and you're ready for it, you really do end up providing something wonderful for your spouse, even if you don't spend money on it. And it's just something that you do at home and, with your own love and care. But start thinking about that now. And just this year has been really, really sucky. So, put a little bit more oomph in your Valentine's this year, even if it's just cooking your spouse a nice dinner and giving them a
Put
rub.
a little more into it.
So I just really want to encourage you guys, be intentional with Valentine's Day this year.
Don't do the last minute thing that's gotten me in so much trouble. That's one of the bad habits, and I wouldn't say toxic behaviors, but one of the bad things about me that I had to change.
Yeah. So,
Don't be last minute.
And you'll enjoy it too if you put a little bit more, thought and energy into it. Because you won't feel so scattered and last minute. And you'll really feel like you put your heart and soul into whatever it is you decide to do.
Yeah, get organized about your Valentine's plans.
There you go. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. This is the Confident Marriage Podcast.
She is your host, Jessica.
And he's your host, Sean.
Have a great week, everybody. Check out our website, www.confidentmarriage.com.
The Confident Marriage.
The Confident Marriage.
Goodbye.
Bye.